in Taiwan. This session will be moderated by Professor Wang Xi from the Department of Geography of National Taiwan University.
Thank you very much. Before I start this section, I'd like to give you two actually good news, which I read from newspaper this morning. The first one is there's a headline says that the Palace Museum of Taiwan decided that they will allow those people wearing slippers to enter. It's good news. At least the agency have the courage to tell people, no. Well, that's important for Chinese. And the second story is the Hotel Association of Taiwan. They have a decision that they will provide a discount for those people, those guests who carry their own clearing personal stuffs, like toothpaste, toothbrush, shavers. If you carry your own clearing items, then they will give a discount. It's a small step, but a step forward. Thank you very much. We will have two presentations for this section. They are basically reporting what the Taiwan government are doing at the moment. The first presentation is by Professor Xiao Daiji. I think his paper is actually introducing the government policy. But this government policy depends on a research which was led by Professor Xiao a couple of years ago. And the second presentation is given by, again, very interesting, by Dr. Li Yao Ling. He, at the moment, is Deputy Executive of the National Science and Technology Center of Disaster Reduction. So let's have Professor Xiao first.
Thank you, Professor Wang's introduction. I'm sorry, I'm still preparing to put my slides on the screen. It should be coming out soon. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, take a few minutes. Okay, my job here is to introduce to you the National Climate Change Policy Adaptation Policy Framework on behalf of CEPD, Council for Economic Planning and Development. Because this is a very formal government document, so I just follow the document and introduce the contents for all of you. This is the outline of my talk. Actually, it is the outline of this policy framework. Here, of course, we will have talked about the impacts of climate change in Taiwan, but I will quickly go through this part. Mainly, we know that in the past 100 years, the annual mean temperature in the flatland of Taiwan has increased by 1.4 degrees C. The growth rate of this temperature rise is much higher than global rate. And of course, we have experienced some change in our precipitation and sea level rise. In terms of rainfall, our total rain days average has decreased, and but the total amount of precipitation has not been changed much. That means the number of typhoons with extreme intense rainfall has increased a lot. Of course, we have experienced also rising sea level, and our scientists has done a lot of research to forecast what the climate change in Taiwan will be. Based on scenario A1B, our scientists say that our temperature will increase between 2 to 3 degrees C by the end of this century. And of course, there are some changes in our regional precipitation. And the most important thing is that the number of typhoons will decrease, but the remaining typhoons' intensity and associated extreme rainfall will increase. So this gives us a very great impact on our climate and the society. This is the overall organization of this policy framework. Under Executive Yuan, we have a National Council for Sustainable Development. And CBD, on behalf of Executive Yuan and the National Council for Sustainable Development, form a task force of formulating and promoting climate change adaptation policy framework and action plan in January 2010. And in the last 2 years, we have this task force has finished this job to formulate the policy framework, and the Executive Yuan adopted this draft of the policy framework in June this year. And under this task force, we have 8 sectors, and for each sector, those names are the ministries responsible for each sector. So as I said before, the CBD has invited all the agencies and the representatives to form the task force from January 2010, and after the Executive Yuan adopted this policy framework on June 25th this year. And so up to now, we have this policy framework. The next job is to formulate the action plan. And this is the job we are working right now. Overall framework of this policy framework is that we have prospects, we have objectives, and then we have 8 sectors. Under each sector, we have strategies and action plan. Here, I'd like to introduce to you the overall prospect of this policy framework. It is we are going to build a sustainable Taiwan, which is able to adapt to any risk resulted from climate change. This is the overall prospects of this policy. And there are 9 principles here, and I don't want to read all of them, but it's